like to say. Who knows? Fortunately for them, there's still 4 games to go. So if they can find that shark form and become the monsters again, like they were in the first 5, 6, 7 games, they could definitely steal this away from Buriram United. We head to Miramar for our first match of tonight. It's our final 4 matches of 2020 for the Apac region. This is it. It's do or die time for Buriram and for LG Divine. LG Divine looking for back-to-back PCS events. They would be just the 2nd team in the 2020 calendar year to do so, along with Sonics from North America. And of course, Buriram looking for their very first PCS title win right at the last second.
Yeah, and obviously there's going to be a lot of discussion around Buriram and LG Divine tonight, guys. But I think we do need to keep a bit of an eye on Division X Gaming, Fury, Cerberus, Angel Alliance, and Sharper Esports. Those teams all the way down to 7th place. You can see 122 points for Sharper. It's still realistic, I would say, for them to get into 3rd, actually. And there's quite a substantial prize money difference between 3rd place and 7th place. There's 5 grand for 7th, 20,000 for 3rd. So if someone like Sharper can overturn a gap like that, then there's definitely some incentive to do that as well. It's not a 1st place, it's not a win, but at least it's a podium finish and still a very, very good finish to the year of PUBG for any team that makes it into the top 3. Right now, it's obviously Division X Gaming that has got that position on lockdown, and they have a little bit of a lead over almost everyone except for, I guess you would say, Fury, who they're only 4 points ahead of. But that is a circle shift to start things off, and it's going to be a great day here, I think, in PCS APAC when we get a circle shift like that off the bat.
I'm there with you when we're getting these sort of circles. I'm not going to... I mean, well, we can't end on Miramar for the final game, of course. I think Miramar out of Erangel can definitely have the most wackiest of circles. The 1% chance, though, if you go to the islands out to the east, or if you go down to, like, Los Higos. But obviously, only the 2 games of Miramar. After this, we then switch over to Erangel to close out this season of PCS. Buriram United, top spot at the moment, and we touched on it in the pre-show. You know, they're no longer the hunters. They're the hunted now. They've got a team, still a couple teams really, that are going to be chasing them down. I don't necessarily think we're going to be seeing any hot drops unless a team like Division X Gaming gets to within, we'll say, 20 points with 2 games to go. That's when you could start to think about it, because you've got to find that sweet spot where you're not too far behind or you're not too close that you can do it on your own, you know, terms, really. Because you look at a team like LG Divine, it's only 14 points. Why throw away your own chances by losing early to Buriram? So definitely no hot drops yet. Maybe on Erangel is where we could see some.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to consider what the context of that hot drop would be as well, you know, because it's not the kind of thing where you can come into it without any preconceived plan and just go, okay, it's the last game of the tournament, we need to hot drop them. If you remember the hot drops that we used to see and the ones that we've sort of spoken about in the past, it was like Incognito and Atletico in ANZ. And I think it was Incognito that hot dropped Atletico at the time. And what they had done is previously that night, they'd gone over the VODs and they'd looked at exactly what the rotations were like for Atletico at any given time based on any given circle. And they'd dropped in certain positions so that they could camp them basically on those rotations. And they knew exactly what they needed to do and where they needed to be at what time. It's not one of those things where you can just say, okay, well, I know that LG Divine likes to drop here. I'm going to land in the same city as them and just try and fight, because that's too much of a 50-50. It needs to be, okay, I know that they're going to be here at this point in time. Maybe I can set something up where I can catch 1 or 2 of the players off, and then we have a significant advantage to go in and actually take that proper fight.
So the damage proportions and the kill proportions usually around that 30% mark, ideally for the top damage or kill leader. Levi's just taking a bit of a peek here, close to long K. These are the other dynamics as well. Not that it's going to happen now, but if Division X does sort of get a knock onto LG Divine or runs into them, you kind of got to beg the question there and be like, oh, do we look to capitalize on this more than we would if it was a different team, for instance? Even if it does mean we've got to put ourselves out of position slightly. Those are the dynamics that do change as we get closer towards the end of an event rather than the beginning of an event. Division X in a pretty decent spot. Hydra Gaming have basically got plums pudding right now over at Cruiser Bay. But LG Divine, water treatment, good spot, western side of the circle. They do like to push in, but I would imagine, considering the position they've got right now, high elevation inside of the circle, they would wait till phase 2 to go for maybe one of those Uber breaches. For Buriram United, Al Azhar, I mean, a good split there. So for our top 2 teams right now, it's looking good. Down to Los Santos for Fury. We haven't really spoken about them. I know, strange, biased casters, can't believe it. But hey, they have got still the slightest of chances. You said the 3 teams below the top 2, Vision X, Fury, Cerberus. It basically has to go as perfect can be. Now look at this from Bay. Yesterday they were the team that was getting breached at the start of games. Look how aggressive Neferhoy is. Literally just trying to run Edie off the road. He's pushed him into that rock and he's got to get the knockdown.
Way.
That's the Bay you like to see as he just flat out eliminates Edie on that motorcycle. That is what Bay had happened to them yesterday. Now they want to do it to others.
Look at that, man. What an alpha male. Just look at that picture and soak it in. That was insane from Neferhoy. Love to see it, though, and that's kind of put Buriram on notice. The team to beat right now in PCS3 Apac. 14 points above second place, but they've been the first team to drop a player in our first game of this evening. So, Buriram perhaps going to have to take a little bit more of a reserved game to start things off. And I think if you're Bay at this point, you kind of have that attitude of we don't really care all that much. Like, we can afford to drive at enemy teams and see what we can do and see how much of a ruckus we can cause. Because to be quite frank, they're down there on 11th place. They don't really have much of a chance of making it even into a top 5, let's be real. But what they can do is have a really good time in this final game and potentially ruin the dreams of some teams.
They can have a bit of fun. They can frag out. I saw Jukesy make a tweet saying he just wanted to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, it was a good start for LG Divine to see Buriram lose a player early, but they got to be careful they don't lose 1 or 2 here. Triple X from the future should be able to get at least 1 here, and does. JN's going to be knocked out of the pickup truck, and Mip and Zuzu is close by. They can very much get a second here. Jun's got to be very, very careful. I mean, he just has to peek over this ridge, and Jun's basically dead.
Yeah, JN is definitely dead at this point, and that grenade has actually gone pretty close, I would say. They're flashes, but oh, there we go. Hexagon lands one right on top of JN. Wow. Jun, he trades back, but it's not enough. He's knocked on down. Nicky also finds himself a knock here. He's got that crossfire angle, and from the future, certainly struggling. But again, in the context of what this means for the entirety of PCS3, it's kind of good from the future to even just be trading like this. Like, they're down in 12th. Who really cares? What I care about is what's happening up the top. And if Buriram and LG Divine are losing players early on in the piece this game, that gives a much better opportunity for teams like Division X Gaming and Fury to catch up and maybe even make this a 3-horse race.
Certainly just at least brings some life. Glimmer of hope potentially for those 3 teams, Division X, Fury, Cerberus, maybe even Angel Alliance, which I didn't really get back to, but they picked up the last 2 chicken dinners. Theoretically, they're actually looking for 3 in a row right now. The Philippines team in the top 6, exceeding all expectations, been amazing to watch. And if they can find another win or 2, wouldn't that be amazing? But only down to 3 players. I don't think they're going to get the 3 in a row. Their goal is probably to still try and get top 5. Bay, great position at Al Azhar, close by to Buriram, who of course have only got the 3 players. LG Divine with those just the 2. I don't sense they're going to be breaching much. They're going to lose another one here. Kanaxi so low. Sophia had a great tournament, but unable to get the knockdown here onto Kanaxi. He's able to just retreat to Gold Meow in time. And Bay just being so aggressive. But I think at some point it could end up being their downfall if they play too aggressive for too long.
I mean, it's not even a case where, like, that needs to necessarily be a kill. The fact that Buriram are still copping shots even when they're rotating is going to continue to unsettle them. They don't really feel like they can get into a rhythm in this game. Fury, on the other hand, have got a big, long rotation to come through here from Los Leones. The only other team that's actually got a longer rotation at the moment is Angel Alliance. You can see Nan down there in the southern part of the map. Well, the other 3 from Angel Alliance are actually even further south of Porto Paraíso, so they've got a long, long way to go. See where this next circle does end up moving, and it's more or less smack bang into the center. I think that's a pretty good circle shift. No one's going to be too disappointed by that, and certainly good news for a team like Fury. If you look at their rotation in, you know, they can come in somewhere around Junkyard. I mean, there's not that many teams around there, and they'll be able to get into this next circle safely at least. It's great news as well for LG Divine and Buriram, who won't have to move too far, although Buriram is immediately on the move, so reacting quite quickly to that circle shift and looking to lock down a what looks like center circle position here. If that's Nordra down the bottom, I can see in that compound, I'd say that's where Buriram is headed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good position. Great positioning. You would just love to have 4 players alive, though, to really get the most out of it. Nordra, Kanaxi, must be feeling the heat though, thinking, gee, this is, not the start to the game that we'd like. I mean,
Hmm.
fortunately, God Meow is going to be able to make it over there as well. So they got 3 rather than the 4. I don't sense that they should be getting breached here because the team behind them, Cerberus, further up, I mean, they're not really going to want to leave that position to go further down. And then from the future are on the other side. The compound is in a really tricky position because it's kind of like that Death Valley. So they're at the bottom of it, but they're in a compound. It's a catch-22 sort of position. We'll see how it plays out if it stays in phase 3, phase 4, for instance. Division X are happy to just play a little bit safer here, which I think is okay. They're 36 points behind Buriram, not as far back as Fury and Cerberus. They can play to their own terms, at least for another game or two, and hope that it all just sort of falls their way, rather than trying to overforce their hand a little bit, like we've seen, say, from teams like Bay at the moment. Victim Rise making their way in. I think the goal would be to probably just not drop out of the top 10, currently tied with Magic Esports on 109 points. Another decent season from them. They had a really good season in PCS2, Apac, and well, they've pretty much repeated it again for PCS3.
Yeah, I think on the topic of Cerberus, they really just need to come in and do what they did yesterday. They had a really, really solid day yesterday, looking like they're a team that might be able to finish strong, but I did just see one of their players getting knocked down by one of the Buriram members. So I was going to mention that Buriram's position is not the kind of spot that they're likely to pick too many points up from. If they're down the bottom, staying in that valley, if the circle shifts on top of them, the fighting is going to be going on all around and above them, and they're probably going to be taking a bit more of like an LG Divine route through this game than what we normally see from them, which is that edge play traditionally. LG Divine don't quite have the luxury of resorting to their own playstyle, though. They're a little bit further out toward the edge, and they do only have a couple of players left alive. Who we might see some fireworks from is actually the team on the screen right now. I know that Fury had a pretty shocking day yesterday, and I think they, had a few extenuating circumstances that might have affected that Xenox, but they are still the kind of team that can come out and really just blitz through one day, and it's often actually off the back of a poorer day that we see that coming from Fury. So I'm quietly hopeful, that we're going to see something good from them. I don't think that they're going to be able to make it into first place. That's just a little bit too far gone, in my opinion, because the reality is, like, 40 points in a day here in this 4-round tournament is going to be a really, really solid number. And that's actually the gap that they have. So they need to get something like 60 and then hope that Buriram and LG Divine have bad days, to be able to take first place here. And I think 60 in this kind of a format, probably not doable. 60 in 5 games, maybe, 12 points a game. I think you could potentially go at that, have a couple of really big games, but 60 in 4 means that you need to be winning like probably 3 out of 4 of those games and fragging out in every single one of them as well.
I mean, we've seen it before, though. Multiple different regions, multiple different tournaments. It can happen. Because of the fact that it's only over 4 games as well, it's not really something you would expect a team to be able to do over 4 games multiple times. But over the course of just one night where you just sort of pop off and everything goes right, it can happen. It's just not something you would expect to happen and be repeated. That's horrible, though, for Fergus. I was thinking Division X and Cerberus and Fury, this is the game to capitalize, and I was about to mention that, and then all of a sudden Fergus is eliminated. So Division X playing with 3 now makes it just so much harder. Northeastern side of this circle, they got Ferox just coming out of Kuruza del Valle, and they're pushing closer to Hydra Gaming. Of course, we just saw Mickey get that elimination onto Fergus. Neil's got to be careful as well as Ferox push up. They're a team down the bottom, really nothing to lose here. They can be aggressive. They can look to push on fights. Now, maybe Division X don't want them pushing on. Levi's and Nikki do need to make their way into this circle with only the 2 players. Not going to be seeing any crashes from them. It's a good little circle, though, for Cerberus. 4 players up, right next door to Buriram United. They, of course, won 2 games on Miramar yesterday. They're a Miramar team, Jordan. That's where the magic happens for them. Not so much on Erangel, which is probably the reason why they're not in the top 3 at the moment. But if they're going to have any chance, any sort of slender chance, they're going to have to continue that Miramar form. Technically, looking for 3 Miramar wins in a row at the moment. Sophia continuing the aggression for Battle Arena Elites, lighting up Los Santos with Purple Mood. Top 8 at the moment for them. That nade almost just bounces onto the top of the head of Sophia. Has to run away now.
Yeah, it's done a little bit to him. He's down to 30 HP, so it's the second time we've seen Sophia right up on that ridge getting the chance to shoot at someone. A fairly common rotation path, it seems, here in PCS 3. But no luck for him. Still, not been a bad game thus far for Bay, who started off quite nicely getting that initial kill onto one of the Buriram members. Division X Gaming, as you mentioned, have already lost a player, and they've actually run into Angel Alliance, a team that you were talking about quite briefly there as well. It is Angel Alliance that is going to have to push into Division X Gaming, so there might be a few points that Division X can kind of farm up here if they're a bit lucky, but it seems that they are stuck in a crossfire as well. They're getting shot by Hydra Gaming in the back as IQ 500 rotates up to this compound. So definitely not the ideal scenario for Division X Gaming to be in. And in that meanwhile, Ferox have actually started to push forward as well and start to get a bit of a wrap maybe on Division X Gaming. You can see they've sent Rain into a bit more of a forward position compared to where he was. He was kind of holding back in Cruise the Val. So it's been going a little bit better for Ferox there as well, getting that rotation into the circle. But big question is going to be, one, A, why has Rain run himself over? And B, where is this circle shift going to go? And that's an interesting one. It's gone actually really far out to the west. And look at how much of that is just a field with barely any cover at all.
I get the feeling that from this sort of circle as well, this is probably going to play into the hands of Levi's and Nikki. You look at the wheat field out to the very far west, that's a great sort of snake location. There's no teams really on the western side of this circle, so they're not going to necessarily have teams pushing them. When you look at the eastern side, it's jam-packed. These teams are going to go to and fro between each other, trying to get into this circle. You know, Buriram's going to have to gatekeep a few teams. Cerberus, really good compound, but they're at the crossroads. Where do they go after the Space War circle? Magic Esports, probably best spot in the house from the future. Not too bad either at the warehouse. And then you got Sharper Esports down to the southwest as well, looking pretty if they continue to hold this position. Fury outside of the circle, very much down to the south. At this point, they're going to have to either rotate past Victim Rise or through them.
Oh, Waikakamukau is definitely on his way. He doesn't know Poochils is here. Will soon. Seed swaps and survives for half a second longer, but it's not going to matter. There goes one of the Fury members. Waikakamukau out of the picture early on in the piece. Long K has also knocked Mad Dog here, and Angel Alliance doesn't look like they're going to be going 3 from 3 here, Xenox. They are in a very big spot of bother.
I certainly agree with that, as they are going to be eliminated in last place, first to last, unfortunately, for Angel Alliance. Really, anything from here is just a bonus. They've already had an amazing tournament as a whole, representing the Philippines. They can feel pretty happy with really whatever happens from here. LG Divine, though, as I said, there's now Unicorn that have pushed close by to them. You can see just on the other side of that ridge. There goes the 3-man army of Fury, sending it through the fields. They will rotate past Victim Rise. Basically, go to the crossroads now. You can see over in the whites, you've got Cerberus. Behind Fury on the other side, on the west, is Sharper Esports. They're just sending it down this highway, which is going to play right into the hands of Magic Esports. Juxie's found a kill onto Boss Sense, and Fury have decided to just pull up here, which is not bad. I mean, the terrain, it seems, has been able to at least block the vision of Cerberus, Magic Esports, and Sharper Esports.
Yeah,
so this is like the holy spot.
This is about as good as it's going to get for Fury, because again, I'm looking at the map and like half of this circle is just a field. Purple Mood goes out in 15th place as we're talking about it, but I think Fury, with that rotation, are going to be the last team that's going to get a center circle position and not be too disappointed by where they end up, because really that looks like the only spot that there's going to be relative safety when this circle does end up moving. So we'll see how that ends up for them. Gen Foss here, cooking a grenade, knows that Day Trade is just above him. Grenade probably not going to get rid of Flash, and he'll be fine for the moment. You see Sophia dropping in the kill feed there as well. So Bay, maybe that aggressive playstyle seems to have come undone a little bit.
Probably wasn't always going to work out for the entire game. We're getting close to the 20-minute mark as well, right? So running out of space, and if you make a mistake, you're going to get punished for it. Hydra Gaming.
They're going right in on Fury at the moment, and just pulled up below them outside of that. That circle shift, again, is just incredibly rough for all of these teams that we're looking at the moment. Day Trade, Victim Rise, Buriram, Cerberus, all these teams have to move. Angel Alliance from the future. It's a disgusting circle shift, to be quite honest. And considering these teams are actually fighting at the moment, it's not going to get any easier for them. Once they do inevitably, one of them win this fight, they're going to have a long rotate in and a hard rotate in as well. The smokes are keeping Day Trade fairly safe for the moment, but they're about to fade away. Grenades are landing on top of them as well. Victim Rise pushing up this hill. They want to get rid of Day Trade. That nade right in the middle. It's almost a field goal between all of those day trade players. They've survived by the skin of their teeth.
And they're committing, though, so much utility. All of these smokes, which, as you mentioned, they're not inside of the circle. There's going to be a mad run for it. So even if they can survive this, they're not going to have the smokes to really push into the next circle. Under 2 minutes, you can see that blue now pushing in as well. A couple of members of ETR still in there. Chibrit getting taken down, will be knocked. Gemfos, Kamals, and Chibrit all just knocked immediately. Magsinus for Sharper Esport, third partying, getting involved. So there's only one up now at the moment for VTR. It's Samoy sending it into these fields, trying to just hold on for as long as possible. But Flood, 13-year-old with the perfection aim from a distance here for phase 5, gets Fury's second kill of the game. But we sort of go back up north. Unicorn, Magic Esport, one of those two teams surely is going to spell the end of LG Divine's run here in match 21.
Yeah, well, one of those two from the future might be the team to spell the end of Buriram's run as well, because you can see they're the team that's actually inside the circle right now. They've got a bit of a read on Bay. They can also see Buriram rotating just to the south of them, and it's Buriram that's not yet in. So they're going to be copping shots from Bay. Nortress run over Canaxi. That's gone all wrong. God Meow at least does get rid of Loki's, and from the future will come in to eliminate the rest of the Bay players, but it hasn't helped Buriram all that much at all. Day Trade Gaming here as well. It's an utter bloodbath. Everyone's dead except from the future. Even Day Trade's lost a couple of players in that. But Buriram's out in ninth, and that's the important factor. That's the important storyline here for the rest of this game. The top team has barely gotten any points out of this game, and that double nade was insane. I don't know how Insight and Fury have actually survived, but they're somehow clinging to dear life.
Now, by the skin of their teeth, Buriram only picked up 3 points for this match. It's not really a lot. Fortunately for them, the other teams below them, quite a distance away, didn't even really have good games. I mean, Division X Gaming, for example, as well, only picked up 5 points, so not a big game there. Cerberus probably too far behind. Fury lacking. They've only got the 3 players, and LG Divine, as we know and as we've seen, lost 2 players very early on. So far, they've only been able to scrape 2 points together. How many more can Levi's and Nikki really achieve as well, considering they're right on the blue as well? Now, Fury do make the early move, as you said, over to the hut, because we've got the field finish. We've been sort of speaking about it for the majority of the game. The circle kept shifting over and over and over, and now it's finalized on this location. So Fury have gone early, but because they've gone so early, they're the only target. Everyone else is on cliffs. They're on the edge of circles. So Fury's the main target at the moment. That's why they got eliminated. Potentially went too early for their own good. Right idea, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea behind that one for Fury, because they want to set up a little compound with the vehicles, but the problem was there was just such a crossfire, and there was nowhere that was actually safe inside of that little hut. They might have been better off fighting Cerberus, but to be honest, a 4-on-3, Cerberus with the high ground pushing in on top of them, I don't know that that would have gone all that much better for them. So I like the decisiveness from Fury, I'll give them that much, but unfortunately, it's not really going to do enough to close the gap against Buriram. It's still a 40-point gap, and now they've only got 3 games to play with. I'm prepared to call it there. There's no chance of a first place anymore for Fury. Maybe still for Division X Gaming, although probably not. It's really just a 2-horse race now, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, what about Cerberus? Here's the thing, right? They've still got 4 players up in this match. The longer this goes on, the placement points go up. Likelihood that they find a few more kills. If they can get to around 150 sort of points here, that puts it down to a 31-point margin with 3 games to go. Not impossible. There's only 1 kill on the board, though, at the moment, and then Subang's been knocked down, and they're still going to win this fight, though, against From the Future. This is almost sort of tournament-on-the-line stuff right now for Cerberus Esports, and From the Future have got the better of them. Already 1 knock. Sololsley has been taken low by Triple X. Fortunately, though, Hisaki has got the trade. 8 kills from the Future pop it off this game, and they're putting a dent into the campaign of Cerberus Esports as well. Down to 5 teams remaining. Sololsley, Basil. What can they do to somehow keep the hopes alive for Cerberus Esports? Gypsy Danger, I'm not sure exactly what just happened there. I guess he just wanted to die.
I mean, as soon as he cops that headshot,
waiting for Basil to get in the truck.
As soon as he cops that headshot, he basically just has to give up, because he's going to be dead either way. So I think you're right. I think he was waiting for him to get into the truck, but the headshot came across from the Cerberus player, and that was that. He knew he was dead, so he just stood still and sort of took it. Basically, we're actually kind of looking at a position here where Sharper Esports should be the favored team to win, although that knock onto 6 sacks probably puts a little bit of a dent in their plan. It's actually going to be only 3 alive because no one can res him. It's gone... well, it's fairly central. Maximus might make the run here to see if he can get the res on to 6 sacks. Kim Siva providing the overwatch.
Well, he probably wanted to make that run anyway, right? With this phase 7 circle, his position was very much on the edge. Sololzi, though, stops the medic from getting to his patient that needed to be revived. So Kim Siva's going to send it 3rd time's the charm, maybe for Sharper Esports. Make sure you don't run anyone over. Of course, you can't really see anything there with the smoke, but he does get in. We'll lay down one more. Obviously, no one's close enough that they can get to this shack. Well, not shack, but the hay bale position. So obviously has been knocked. Tanoi finally gets rid of that pest. Basil, the last one alive for Cerberus. But yeah, no one's close enough to go for a sort of a nade. What this does do, though, is it does allow Unicorn to make the dash over, get into the circle, while Sharper Esport were getting all of those revives. So it meant there was less pressure on them coming in from the west. They're inside of the circle now here. And they're actually with a big chance of overtaking Ferox. Unicorn have been dead last since probably game 1, Jordan. And now with only a couple of games to go, they might be able to leapfrog.
They're getting breached, though. Tonke is just absolutely sending it right at the res right now. It's Tuans. He's not even on the res, but he might have to be if you are going to be correct in your predictions, Enox, because I don't know if one player from Unicorn can survive long enough to actually get any more points on the board here. Tonke throwing all the utility that he's got right at that little hut, but the Molotov sails a little bit too far. He's got a nade in hand now as well here, Tuan, so we'll see if he chucks that one back at Tonke, but that's not a fun spot to be for Tuans from Unicorn Cyber.
Okay, not.
Look at him, he's on 1 HP. Never mind, he's dead.
He's gone.
Don't worry, he's out of there. So Ferox will retain 15th place.
For now.
For now, yes.
3 games to go, of course, so anything can happen there. It's good to see Unicorn sort of fighting until the end. No one really wants that wooden spoon. Tonke is finally going to die. Massive performance, though, from Sharper Esport to get them into 6th position, overtaking Angel Alliance. Cerberus have just pushed up into the top 4, by the way. Fury dropping out of the top 3, then now the top 4. Fortunately, declining a little bit as we get towards the end of this season. Imama holding on, along with Sulabi, but Sulabi's no longer inside of the circle. Basil as well, getting Cerberus just some extra valuable placement points, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get anything else here because Umama doesn't have to move. He's inside of the circle, and unfortunately for Basil, he's outside of the circle. And as soon as he tries to get into this next phase, he's basically just going to die to Sharper Esports.
Oh, there goes his cover, and there goes his life. It's not Sharper Esport that ends up getting the kill, it's Imuma, but that's worked out pretty nicely for Magic Esport. Another point on the board. Been pretty good game, actually, for Sharper, though. When we sort of started the day, they were in 7th place. We were talking about them potentially being able to get up into maybe 3rd. And they've done a really, really good job of closing that gap quite substantially. It's quite likely even that they're going to close it even a little further. They won't be able to overtake Division X Gaming just yet, but they are definitely going to be within a stone's throw distance of that 3rd place. Assuming they do win this. It's a 4-on-2 against Magic, though. Let's be real. They should most definitely be winning this.
Yeah, well, for me, it just comes down to if they can actually complete the 2 kills. Whether or not Magic Esport, Sulabi maybe just dies to the blue.
I mean, that could be...
Maybe just Molotovs himself.
Yeah, it could be a good point because Magic Esport, theoretically, are still in chasing distance of Sharper. So if they don't think they can get anything out of this, they might be better off denying those points. Keep it at a gap of 14 instead of, 16.
Obviously, if Sharper Esport do get both kills here and the win, they will leapfrog Fury, dropping them to 6th place. Kim Siva does confirm the knock onto Sulabi, and now they can sort of branch out and push to Imuma. Nades galore. Spell the demise for him very, very shortly here. The fancy music has been turned on, but I don't think it's necessary. This is as good as done. Sharper Esport are going to collect the chicken dinner. Well, it's been a long time coming. Their first chicken dinner for PCS 3.